Hello everyone, my name is Amanda and welcome back to another video of the Planty Mandy. So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things to do when it comes to growing plants, which is to propagate them, meaning to multiply them. So when it's come to propagation, there is like so many different methods, and of course, this really depends on what plant it is or what kind of environment you live in. So I decided to break the whole propagation series down to a couple different videos, so it's easier for you guys to watch and it's easier for me to do. And so today we're gonna go for the first two methods. Which is the water propagation as well as propagation in sphagnum moss. So those are the methods that it's a little bit more common and also easier to access if you are just starting to propagate plants or if you are a hobbyist of houseplant. So yeah, let's get started. So before we go into how to propagate plants, and let's talk about what is propagation. So like I mentioned at the very beginning, propagation essentially is just multiplying your plants by either taking a cutting of the plants or by growing them from seeds. So that's all considered, or division. So that's all considered a method of propagation. So one general principle or philosophy that I love to use when it comes to rooting plants or propagating plants is it's a game of roots or rods. So now this is not my saying, it's actually a saying from Leslie Halleck. I'm sure a lot of you guys heard of her. She's a really famous horticulturist. And if you guys are interested, I'm gonna leave her Instagram at the below so you guys can check her out. She's awesome. She is the one who wrote the book of plant parenting, I believe. I think you can get it on Amazon too, so I'm gonna leave everything at the video note. When you take a cutting of the plants and then you put into whatever medium that you're trying to grow the roots or grow new plants from, there's two possible outcomes. So the plant's either gonna root up nicely and then you get a new plant, or it's gonna rot. So essentially, being successful in propagating plants, it's really come down to how fast, like the speed that you can get your plants to root. So I'm gonna give you a couple tips in terms of how to get your plant to root as fast as possible in order for you to increase your success rates in propagation. So as you know, is this plant doesn't always take, right? Sometimes, they may rot away and sometimes something else happen. So we're going to discuss a couple of things that we can do as plant parents to make sure that this process is more successful. So step one for propagating a plant is obviously take a cutting. So because today we are talking about water propagation and moss propagation, so we don't have to worry about the seed, right? So in order for us to propagate, no matter what method we're using, water or moss, we will have to take a cutting. So let's talk about how to take a cutting, right? And before we go into how to take a cutting, let's talk about the tools that you need. So the tools is super simple. Like obviously you need a good pair of scissors. So I got this from a garden center. So it's meant to be for cutting plants, and you can see I have a more fine tip. So it's helped me to be more precise when you cut it, because I am super clumsy. So sometimes I will cut stuff that I didn't mean to cut because, if I use a regular bigger scissors. So yeah, so that's number one. And number two, when you cut the plants, you want to make sure your scissors are sanitized. So, because these scissors, have been to a lot of places, right? Because let's say I use it to, all of my plants, and, it may have some bacteria or fungus, or like worst case scenario, it may have pests, like eggs or whatever on it. So every time when when I take a cutting of a plant, even though I know that, there's probably no pest on it, I still gonna use a diluted alcohol solution to sanitize my scissors. So what I essentially do is that I'm just gonna spray it, right? and make sure that it's covered the whole surface. And then I'm gonna, just use a towel to dry it before I take the cut. And one more tools I want to go over to is this one is not mandatory, but if you want to, you can try it. So this is the rooting hormone. Yay, rooting hormone. So rooting hormone, what it's claimed to do is it's gonna speed up the rooting process. So I personally tried a couple of times and I don't see like a, how do I say it? I don't see like a crazy difference, let's put it that way. So I normally that's why I say this is optional if you are considering, okay, it's gonna make it faster. In my opinions, it doesn't make a huge difference. However, I use it from time to time just because a lot of the rooting hormone also have fungicide in it. So when you use a rooting hormone with fungicide in it, it's actually helped to lower the chance for the plants to get infected and rot. Remember, root or rot, like to rot before it's actually root. So yeah, this is something that you may also want to consider when you're trying to propagate your plant. So yep, so that's all the tools that we need to get a cutting. And let's cut. All right, so before we start cutting, let's talk about a couple basic principles of cutting. So first of all, when you pick, like, you have a big plant, right? Like this guy is humongous. So this is my Monstera Addisonii. So yeah, it has grown like a lot, especially since spring came. So before you take a cutting, you really have to consider where to cut, which one to cut. I know it's very tempting for a lot of us to cut out the smaller leaves or less than perfect leaves because that's gonna make the mother plants look better. But this is actually very counterproductive when it comes to propagation. You want to take the a healthy cutting, like a leaf that is like green, there's no yellowing, sizable leaves, mature leaf. So that way when you actually propagate the plants will actually would better. Trust me, if you take an unhealthy cutting or subpar cutting, the chance you dramatically decrease the chance of the plants being rooted successfully. So yeah, make sure that first thing first, doesn't matter which plants you're considering cutting, you have to pick a healthy cutting, right? Healthy, mature cutting, I would say. So I have two plants here. I just sanitize my scissors, okay? And now I have this like clean, nice scissors, so I'm gonna cut my plant. So for there's different plants have different growth structure, but the principle is very similar. You always want to find the node. The node, I like to call it like the joint or the elbow, the elbow of the plant. So a lot of the aroids, right? For example, Monstera is an aroid. They would have this like aerial roots, these tiny roots that's sticking out. So this is where the node is. So the aerial root is not the node, but like most of the time, like the aerial root will emerge from somewhere around the node, which is right this corner at my finger. So this is where the new root's gonna come from if you decide to propagate it. So if I want to propagate a plant, I would say the leaf is healthy, right? It's green, it's healthy, like you feel the stem is very, it's not squishy, it's like firm and nice. And there's a pretty fresh aerial root emerging. So you see like all this aerial root emerging. So I would say, yeah, I could cut this, right? So we can also look at the other one. We have this one here. This is obviously a much bigger leaf, as you can see. And then also, I hope you can see it like right here, there's also an aerial root. So in comparison to this two, right, which one would I cut? So I would say I prefer to cut this one because it looked more mature and more sturdy. So yeah, so I'm gonna, whoopsie. See, this is the problem for the Addisonii. Have you ever experienced it? It's like, because they have the holes, so they kind of, I'm just gonna whip this. They kind of like go into each other. So yeah, so I would say like, if I can choose, I'm just gonna cut like this one instead, all right? So as you can see, let me make sure you can see. So you can see this is there's actually two nodes. There's one node right here. there's one node right here. And then you can see all this aerial roots coming out. So what I'm going to do is I am going to cut right around here. So the reason I cut right around here is because you can see there's like multiple nodes and a lot of aerial root, and that would increase the chance for me to successfully root the plants because it's just math, right? More node I have, more chance, higher chance for the plants to grow roots. So I'm gonna cut right here and make sure it's one clean cut, okay? You ready? 1 and 2 and 3. Ta-da! So there you have your cutting. Healthy, nice, big cutting. So I want to show you one more time. So I have 1 node, 2 node, and 3 node. And then I have all this aerial wood coming out, which gonna increase my chance of success when it's come to rooting a new Monstera Adansonii. Yay! Perfect. All right. So yeah, so this is pretty easy, right? Because it have like all this aerial roots. And I want to show you, so I'm gonna sanitize my scissors again because just in case. Okay? So ta-da. Alright, so let's look at my Crimson Princess. So Hoya doesn't have as prominent of aerial roots like the Adansonii, but it still have a, just put me in the mouth. You can still kind of find out where you should be cutting. So for example, I have this stem right here. I hope I can show you again. It's like a little bit short. So you can see all this like really tiny like bumps. I don't know if you can tell at all. Here, let me see if I can put it. There you go. You see all this like white dot, like tiny bumps. So those are aerial roots for the Hoyas. And again, you want to make sure you have the node, like the elbow or the joint, whatever you call it, the joints. And bam, and bam. So once you decide that, okay, this should be good, like if you want 2 leaves, you can cut 2 leaves. If you want more, you can cut more. So I think I'm going to cut right here just because not only this is a healthy leaves, and also you see all this like stem that have nothing coming out of it. It will be ideal if you want to stick it into the water or the sphagnum moss. So after I sanitize my scissor, I'm just going to cut right here. So ta-da, that's another cutting. So this cutting have, let's see, 1 node, 2 node, 3 node. So that's 3 nodes. So that's give me like, and then there's a lot of like tiny bump, which is the aerial roots, where the aerial is going to come out. So, and you can see, I want to show you this as well. This is specific for Hoya. It have this side, because they're in the milkweed family. So once you cut them, if the stem is healthy and fresh, it will come out with this size sap right here. Let's see if I can get this to focus. Not really. Yep, there you go. So you can see this sap coming out of the end. So that's a really good sign to tell you that this cutting is alive and healthy. So yep, that is pretty much how you cut the plants. All right, sorry for the angle because, I'm just filming by myself. So I'm trying to show you guys what's on the table, but also talk to you at the same time. So you may not be able to see my face, but that's okay. You're not here to look at me. You're here to look at how to propagate, all right? So as you can see, we have this healthy cutting that we just cut from the Monstera Adansonii, fresh cut, and also this Hoya Crimson Princess. Now, I generally would let this casting to colors for about 24 hours. And the reason it's because it will minimize the chance for infection. It's just like, you fall down and then you scrape your knees and then, and the scab, slowly form. That's going to help with, to prevent infection. So same as planned. So yeah, I normally let it colors for about 24 hours. And then I would propagate it. I know some people like to put wax at the end, to seal it, to prevent infection, but I don't see a I don't do that, but you know, you're welcome to try if you want to do that. So, yep. So let's say I let it color for 24 hours. So I'm gonna propagate this with water now. So yeah, so let's go into the water propagation method. So for propagation method, it's as simple as it sounds. It's propagate plants in water. And I found that water propagation method works especially well with plants with like a lot of aerial root, just like this one. So I would say the Monstera Addisonii is a great candidate for water propagation. So if you have, I just use tap water, but you know, if your city happens to have really hard water meaning that it's has a lot of minerals in it. You probably want to use distilled water, but I live in San Francisco, so the water is pretty okay, I guess. So I just use tap water. So yep. So once I have this cutting, all I'm gonna do is gonna boop, boop. and that's it. It's as simple as that. So the key is to make sure that all your node is submerged underwater. So you can see right here, like my water is up to here, and then I have the let's see, the 1 node, 2 node, it's underwater, but you see I have the third look that it's still not underwater. So what I want to do is I want to add more water. So I'm gonna add more water in this. So I may need a higher jar actually, but anyway. So now all the nodes are submerged underwater. Ta-da! Great. So yeah, so that's basically how it is. And if you have something like a, you know, more decorative, like a propagation chamber, you can also use this. And this is great for a smaller cutting, like, because this will be too big, right? So I can pretty much just stick this one in here and ta-da! And also make sure that you get enough water to cover the node. Pow. So that's basically how you water propagate. So one thing that I will remind you guys though, for water propagation, make sure that you change your water regularly, because you know, before the plant are able to root, the water may get muggy, like dirty, and you don't want the plants to you know, rot because of infection. So make sure that, yeah, just check the water regularly, and if you need to change the water, just change the water. So yep, there we have it. This is the water propagation. You see all this cute little bubbles it's forming. And this one is also a water propagation. It's beautiful, Addisonii. Awesome. Cool. So back to the local angle. Yeah, so as you can see, like we did the water propagation right here. So the next thing we want to talk about is like, okay, let's say the roots came out. Like, how long do I have to wait to transition the plants into regular soil or whatever medium I'm using? Right. So first of all, let's talk about what is enough. Like how much roots are considered enough. So I have this really cute propagation chamber I got from Etsy. I'll leave the name down below. I love this thing. It have like 6 tubes. So, but that's not the point. The point is I want to show you. I think this guy probably has been in here for a few weeks now, and you can see like this is a Monstera silpiticana, and then you can see that all the side roots are coming out. Woohoo! So this is definitely long enough, because you can see the root is coming out pretty crazy. So I'm gonna take it out so you guys can see. It's crazy. So remember I said the node, it's where the root's gonna come out. So as you can see, that is what's happening. Beep boop. So let me put it back. So this is same thing as the Monstera. And I also have this other, the same thing that I just cut from the same plant. This is my Monstera Addisonii, same thing. The root is pretty chubby and fat. And my pothos. And this guy is even crazier. Ta-da. So it's hard to put that. Oh, I shouldn't have to get up. Hold on one second. Yep, this is my pothos. And I even have a begonia here. So this is the angel wing begonia. I want to show you just because, remember how there are all the aroids, right? Not all the aroids, but like the monstera and also the pothos, the root is kind of like chubby and strong, right? And look at how delicate this begonia root is, which makes sense because begonia do have a more delicate root system, a thinner root system, a finer root system than a lot of the aroids. So, yep. Ta-da! So yeah, I would say all of this are pretty good enough to go into soil. I specifically want to talk about the transition because while there's a lot of benefits of water propagation, so that include it's easy, like it's pretty fast for a plant that have aerial roots. The one disadvantage of water propagation I noticed in my experience is sometimes the root have a difficult time to transition into soil or like a solid medium because water roots construct differently than soil roots. So meaning that the root that form in water or live in water use oxygen differently or break down and use oxygen differently than the soil roots. So when the roots are so used to water, living in water, when you transition into soil, just like you move from one place to another place, you will have a difficult time to adapt. So sometimes the plant may not make it. So that's one of the reasons that I would just choose the plant that are more resilient, like the aroids. Like you see those like chubby large root for water propagation. So that's what my suggestion is. And I would suggest you to just observe your plants a little bit better when you are transitioning the water roots into soil roots. So yep, that's all I have for water propagation. All right, next we're gonna dive into moss propagation. So I'm biased on this because moss is literally my favorite way to propagate a lot of plants, like almost all the plants, not all, but 85% of my plants, I like to use moss. And there's a couple reasons for that. And number one, obviously, it's just my experience with it. My success rate of rooting in moss is over 85%. So meaning that 10 plants I put in the moss to propagate, about 8 of them would successfully root. So I'm pretty happy with this method. And if and the 15 or 20% fail is only because the cutting is not super healthy to begin with. So I would say like if I start with a really healthy cutting, like we discussed earlier, the success rate for propagating in moss for me in my particular environment, it's over 90%. So yep, so I'm biased on this. And also the plant would have an easy time to transition just because remember we talk about water roots utilize oxygen differently than soil root. So if you propagate in moss, because moss is essentially a solid medium, your plant would have an easier time to transition into soil in comparison to the water root. So yep, that's why I am biased. I'm biased, and moss is my favorite propagation method. So I'm gonna tell you all about it. Okay, awesome. So let's go over the tools first, right? So for moss propagation, obviously you need sphagnum moss. So this is the long fiber sphagnum moss. So make sure when you get the long fiber one, like long fiber sphagnum moss. And because I found out that there is a shorter one. So the shorter one, the long fiber one, it's very peaty. So it's like woody, it's really dense and really fine. So imagine like, when you put water in it, it's gonna get super dense and it's just gonna end up killing your plants because it's too wet, right, all the time. So yeah, make sure you get the long fiber one so that way your plant have like more room to breathe, right, when you actually put it in. So yep, moss is obviously the number one ingredient. The second ingredients, we're not cooking. The second tool that you'll need is a box. So I do purchase special propagation box because I found that really helpful, and it's not like super unaffordable. Like it's pretty affordable because I got this online and it's like, I forgot, like $20 for like pack of 10 or pack of 15 or 12, I forgot, but something like that, $20. And you can reuse them, like, you know, it's not just one time use, and you can reuse them. And I bought it once, like a while ago, like when I started propagating, which is last July or so. Yeah, almost a year ago, and I'm still using the same 10 or 12 boxes. So yeah, so what I like about this one is because, as you can see, there's a box right here, right? Really sturdy too. And then you have this chamber. And the most amazing about this chamber is clear, so you can see the root formation, like see if it's like sufficiently rooted. And then it have holes. So when you water, like when you re-wet your moss, you don't have to worry about like, oh, it's gonna get too wet because the water gonna come out. So that's that. And it's also come with a lid with vents. So basically you can adjust like the airflow, right? You can close it, which I do not recommend. You want some airflow, and you can open it so there's airflow. So yeah, so and then you close it. That's why I would spend money on this. I highly recommend it. But you know, if for whatever reason you're like, no, I don't want to spend extra money, you can also use a to-go box. So as long as your to-go box, you know, just find something sturdy, like lawn, that won't rust, obviously, and have a clear top or semi-clear top. And obviously it's not going to have holes in it because it's for food, but you can easily just like step, you know, some holes on it. So that way you have a homemade propagation box. So either way is fine. There's no, yeah, there's, you know, if you don't want to spend extra money, like, and you have a bunch of this, which actually I do, you can definitely use this one as well. Perfect. So last but not least, so now just say the rooting hormone, this is also optional, but I found that super helpful. It's a heat mat. So the heat mat, this particular heat mat will raise the temperature for about 5 to 10 degrees. And it's perfect for rooting plants. So for rooting, for the plants to grow root, there's two really important factors. Number one is humidity. The more humid it is, the faster the roots grow. And number two is heat. So I'm not talking about like super hot, but like, you know, like a little bit higher temperature than your room temperature. That's gonna help to promote root growth as well. That's why I found this heat mat extremely helpful. And it's very easy. There's no, you know, adjustment or anything like that. You just plug this in, and what I'm gonna do is, like, let's say I plug it in. And then I have my moss and stuff. I'm just gonna put it on here. That's that. So yep, highly recommended. So I, again, all this stuff, I know it's a lot of stuff. So all the stuff that I use, I'm just gonna leave a link at the bottom if you guys are interested in checking that out. Check that out. And all the stuff that I show you, I use myself, and I have been using it for a year, and it helps so much for, like, you know, rooting plants. So yep, that's what I recommended. I'm not gonna just recommend you guys something that I've never used before. So awesome. And with that being said, let's get into the actual propagation part. So we're gonna go into this rear angle again. So as you can see, this is the dry moss. So when you get the moss, it's dry. And moss is actually, oh, I forgot to mention, the other benefits of moss is sterile. So meaning that there's no living organism gonna grow in here. So, which is good because it's also gonna minimize the chance for the plants to get rot because of bacterial infection or fungal infection or whatnot. So the first thing you want to do is you want to moist the moss. So this is a very important part, because you want to get it moist, but you don't want it to be like soaking, wet. So a good way to do that is you're just gonna wet it and then let it absorb. So moss can hold a lot of water. It can hold 8 times, of water as its body weight. So I'm gonna wet it a little bit more. So just like soak it for a little bit. So normally I will leave it there for like a couple minutes, just so the moss can soak up all the water. So when you see that like the moss, when you feel that the moss is like wet and then there's still like water left out, that means the moss is completely saturated. So once the moss is completely saturated, what you can do is you can use the box of your choice. I'm going to use this one. And the compartment is removable. So if you feel like you don't need it, you don't have to use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out some moss and make sure, this is the important part, okay? So a lot of people rot their plants in the moss because they just put this soaking wet sphagnum moss in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze the extra water out. So the moss will still feel moist. It's not going to be dry because it soaked up all the water, but it's also not going to be like super soaking wet. And that is the consistency that you want. So once you have this consistency, right, you'll put this moss into the compartment, and your cutting, make sure that your cutting, the bottom of your cutting, it's stay wet. So meaning that you'll probably want to put some moss down first, and then you stick the cutting in, and then you make sure you squeeze it. Oof. And then you put like more moss in there. There we go. Ta-da! So there you have it. So this is a little bit too high, I would say. So what I would do is I would probably cut this a little bit more from here. So remember, right, you always let it colors first, but because for time being, let's say it's colors already. So I'm gonna just put it back in here. Make sure that the node is covered by the moss, just like this. And I'm gonna go bam, close the box. So I would try to do your best to like avoid the plant touching the box, but sometimes it's unavoidable and it's not gonna, it's okay as long as you observe it and make sure that the leaf is not too wet, because once you have like, I don't know, 12 plants in there or however many cutting in there, it's get really humid in there. And then sometimes if your plant is always touching the box, which have a lot of condensed water, like the dews on there, it may rot the leaf. So you just want to make sure that you pay attention to that. But yeah, after that, I'm just gonna put it on my heat mat. And bam. So this method is pretty effective for me, that normally I would see would grow within a week. So yeah, so that would be how you do the moss propagation. So I want to show you what I have with my moss propagation right now, just like what I show you for the water propagation, and they're kind of messy, so bear with me, but I want to show you what kind of progress you're supposed to see after like a week or few weeks or whatnot. So I have this box here. This is what I meant by once you put multiple plants in there, it's gonna get really humid. So you can see all this like water condensed in the box, and that's why I say just make sure that if your leaves are touching the box, they're not rotting or anything like that. So let's open this. Voila! Yeah, super messy. So this only has been in there for a week, or maybe a little bit less than a week actually. I don't quite remember, but you know, some of them already have taken. So let me see if I can show you the one that has taken really quick. I think, nope, right here. Yep. So you can see this is a Hoya Diptera. As you can see, you see all this like white little like ball right here. So those are the roots start to come out. So yeah, that's one. Yep, there we go. The white little balls right here, like this couple right in the node. So yeah, the roots start to come out, which is great. So you can see this polylura. You can also see on the side, all this side little bump start to come out. So that would be where the root's gonna come out from. And I think, oh, there we go. So another Diptera. So you can see the white part. The root is also coming out. Yep, that's better. There you go, this little guy. So yeah, so yeah, this only have been here for a week. So you can see like some of the plants would better than the other. And that just, you know, that's just how plants is. It depends on the species. It depends on you know, how mature or how healthy the cutting is. So yep, so that would be the 1 week progress for my propagation in this little ball. All right, so ta-da! I know it's super crazy. So I'm gonna put it back. Stuff it back in there. Bam. Okay, cool. And I also want to show you the one that I have for longer, and this guy is big. So it's basically just a just a bigger version of the small one. So I bought this because I can fit more plants in there, obviously. And let's see what I have. So, oh my goodness, okay, here. So you can see like this is, for this one I do use a little chamber. And I even cut up another chamber so I can easily take it out. So this, I believe, is a Hoya Sunrise. And let's see if you can see the root. Nope. But I will take it out and show you. Let's see. So, okay, this is a perfect teaching moment. So when the plant is root up, it's grab onto the moss. And if the moss is dry, it's very hard for you to take it out. So my recommendation is, I'm gonna put this back. I'm gonna add some water in it, just to soften up the moss, because you know, when you, let's say like you finish rooting this in moss and then you want to put it into soil, it's very easy for you to tear up the roots if the moss is too dry. So this is actually my next point I want to go over, is how to transition that into soil. So let's see. So yeah, so you see once it's softened up, it's easier to take out, right? So you still want to be like super careful. Like you don't want to tear up the whole, like, you know, plant or anything like that. So yep, perfect. So I know it's a little bit hard to see, but you see all these white roots? Yeah, so this means that the plants have already grown the roots all the way down here. So this is a healthy, sorry, the camera, there you go. This is a healthy rooted plant. Yay! Oh, by the way, this is a Hoya Sunrise. So yeah, so that's bring me to the point. It's a messy business, I'm telling you. So that's bringing me to the point. How do you remove it and put it into you know, your medium of choice? So number one, as I mentioned, make sure that this guy come out. Make sure that the moss is moist when you try to take it out, because if you try to pull out the plants from a dry moss, it's very easy for you to you know, ruin the plants or ruin the root. So this one is awesome. So since we are here, I'm just gonna moisten it because they're pretty dry. So this is some moliflor, okay? Hoya moliflor. Oh, it's even, oh wow, it's dark. Okay, cool. So this is a good example too. See, the hole at the bottom, all the water come out, which is awesome. So that way you don't have to worry about like, you know, overwatering. So this is a moliflor. I have been rooting for maybe a few weeks, like 3 weeks or something. So you can see all the roots, like this guy is crazy. You can see all the roots come out, and guess what? It's even giving me start to you know, spout out new grow at the top too. So yep, that's why moss is my favorite method. Yeah, I just has been, you know, really successful when I would stuff in them. So yeah, so these are just some of the example. So let's see what else. So yeah, so that's basically how do I root in moss. And like I said, if the moss get too dry, I just water it like so. So I don't have to worry about, you know, spilling water everywhere because all the plants is inside the tray. And that's why I like this so much. You can also buy online. I'll leave a link too. So yeah, so once your plant is sufficiently rooted, like, you know, this crazy moliflor, I'm just gonna like make sure that, well, let me make sure one more time, it should be wet. So you can leave it in the moss, like they are happy living in the moss, right? But if you really want to, you can also take it out, right? You see, oh my God, this guy look crazy. Look at all the wood. Oh. So yeah, you can also take it out, carefully remove it, do not pull it. Remove as much moss as possible. So a question that I got is like, well, how much should I remove? Because it can be challenging to remove moss. I understand that. So I would say if you can remove like 85% of the moss, that's pretty good. And just make sure that you do as much as possible, because if you leave the moss sticking to the roots, like a lot of them sticking on the roots, and you put in the soil, when you water the plants, the moss gonna retain too much water. So that may rot your roots, right? So make sure that you remove like at least like 80-85% of the moss, and then put the plants into really, really well draining soil when you transition it. And then the plant should be fine. I have been doing it for the past year, and all of my plants survive, you know, from moss to soil, and it's actually survived a lot better. The survival rate is a lot better than you know, rooting rooting the plant in water and put it into soil. Yep, so that's moss propagation. All right, y'all. Thank you for sticking with me. And yep, today we talk about water propagation. We talk about water propagation, and we also talk about the moss propagation, right? So let me know what you think if you have any question. I know it's a lot of information, and that's why I want to break it into different parts. We're going to talk about more propagation method or more complicated or advanced propagation method down, you know, in the next few videos. But yeah, today I just want to go over like some of the most effective and most accessible, more importantly, for us hobbyists to propagate our plants. So yeah, let me know if you have any question below. And I do have a really important announcement. So if you guys are interested in learning different propagation method, I am collaborating with the Seed and Soul Club, which is a plant community located in San Francisco Bay Area, that we hold plant swap, we hold like workshop like this to exchange information and just you know, share our knowledge and love of plants together. And we are having a virtual workshop on propagation, a 2-part virtual workshop on propagation. So I will be hosting with June from Seed and Soul Cup, and the event is free, right? So I think it's hosted on the IG platform, live IG platform. So yeah, make sure that I'm gonna leave the link of registration below, so you can, you know, click on it, register for free. I think the event is in June 13 and at 11 a.m. and then there's another one. The part 2 is like a week after. But once you click on the link below, you'll see all the information, and then you can join us. So that way, you know, I can meet you guys on live, and also you guys can ask me a question on live. So, you know, right now it's good that I show you what I do and then you leave a question below. But on IG Live, you can, if you see me doing something like, what are you doing? You can ask me right away. So that's even more fun. All right. So that's all I have for you today. As always, if you like this video, you think it's provides you value, you learn something from it, make sure you give me a like. And if you want more future videos, you want to, for example, you want to stay tuned for my part 2 to see what other propagation methods are out there, give me a subscribe. So that way, you know, every time when I have new video come up, you will be able to see that. Like, give me a subscribe, it's not a word, but anyway, subscribe. And I will see you next time. Bye.